Here's what we know. Now, I'm going to tell you I have a healthy skepticism of the way media typically reports arrests and news is what law enforcement sources tell the media they treat as gospel. I try not to do that, okay? That's no matter whether it's local cops, the feds, no matter who's in charge of the DOJ, I always feel like the slanting, it's unfair to the accused. And so I am not, and so I read all these stories I come into it with some skepticism. I had even more when I saw the ABC News headline when this story first broke, and it said Portland Trailblazers head coach has been charged in an illegal poker operation tied to the mafia, law enforcement sources told ABC News. And that's because the mafia is not like, and they even capitalized mafia, a specific entity. Like there is organized crime and the mafia is known as like Italian organized crime. But I've never seen like in a real news article, the mafia be used as if it were a specific entity. So I initially here's what I thought this news was going to be when I saw it. Terry Rozier, there's been a lot of smoke and Pablo Torre's done a good job around that story for the last year that some of his player prop bets sure seem fishy, and there's fishy action on them. And we talked about the fact that it's very easy for guys to try to make their friends or themselves 10, 20 grand on these individual player props. And clearly some guys have not been able to resist the temptation. That's what I assumed the feds were arresting Terry Rozier for. I didn't know what Damon Jones' necessary involvement was, except for the fact that he had been a coach, so maybe we would have inside information on, hey, this guy's not going to play or this guy's dinged up. I also, full disclosure, have known Damon Jones for more than 10 years. I like Damon Jones, and I was sad to see his name in this. When I saw Chauncey was being charged in an illegal poker operation, my initial thought process was, oh man, they're really going after these illegally raked poker games, because we saw Gilbert get hemmed up by the feds about something what I thought was similar. So before I get to the actual details here, because I really want the audience to understand this, it is not that I know it's going to sound, I'm going to sound like I'm giving myself a pass here or something, but I want to be very clear. The card games that I play in are totally legal, and it's not because they're in Vegas. Those obviously are. Those are in regulated casinos. And it's not because they're not for, a ton of money, because sometimes they are. The way it works is this, and I want to put DeMonte on the screen because I want to make sure he understands it, because if he understands it, everyone will understand it. I am allowed to have, that wasn't an insult on your intelligence. I just meant because you're not a poker player. Like you are, if I were to say, hey, I am hosting a poker night at my house for friends, family, or even just, hey, join my poker club and come play.
Yep.
We could play for $10 a person, $100 a person, or $1 million a person. And that is legal. That is legal as long as the house, the host, the person putting it on, is not taking a cut of the money.
Okay.
So do you understand? So
Yeah.
like if I invited 7 guys over and everybody brought 10 grand with them, so there's $80,000 involved. As long as at the end of the night, when it's like, hey, you lost your 10, you lost your 10, he won 10. As long as everyone, the net of what everyone came with, they leave with collectively, that's legal. It's not legal if it's like, hey, since I'm hosting the game, every hand, I'm going to take $20 out of the pot and drop it in this little box here. And at the end of the night, the house has made $2,000.
Right.
That's the line that makes poker games legal or illegal. Is the house taking a cut? Okay. It's as simple as that. So when I was on with Levitard last week talking about that huge card game I was going to, that was a bunch of guys who've been playing with each other forever. And there is no rake. That's called the rake. Taking money is the rake. Okay. So Gilbert got in trouble because they were hosting he had rented a house that was being used, according to the feds, it was basically an illegal casino because the house became not only where the card games were, but that they were probably taking in rake money. 10 and that rate can be huge, like 10, 20,000 a night in rake and money off the table. Okay. So that's the distinction between private legal and illegal poker. When I saw the Chauncey thing, I'm like, man, I can't believe they're going after these illegal card games, because that is pretty prevalent. The idea of, hey, we're going to do a private game with the person who's hosting it, those things, they're going to take a cut, or that's their business. Those are illegal technically, but usually people, like, as long as there's no drugs, there's no violence, no anything, people don't mess with them. Okay?
Yeah.
That is not, though, what the feds are alleging Chauncey was a part of. What the feds are alleging is that if this is true, this is, for me, as someone who plays in real card games, this is a cardinal sin. They're alleging these were rigged games.
Oh, damn.
That they had rigged shufflers, that they had rigged RFID devices, which allowed people to know what cards other people had, that they had rigged communication devices like tiny earpieces, and that folks were like, hey, seat 6 has kings and ace is coming on the turn, get your money in. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, how does this type of information get out? Is somebody getting bamboozled and they speak out to the feds? Because I was thinking, like, well, whose benefit would it be in for? But they were getting their money stolen.
I don't know. Basically. Or somebody, there's a bunch of ways this could happen. Somebody gets in trouble and then they're like, hey, let me out of trouble. I'll tell you about something bigger.
Yeah.
Somebody is in the game and thinks they've been cheated and then decides to kind of go on their own and investigate it or whatever it is. But the allegation here is organized crime recruited Chauncey to be the draw. It's like, hey, come to the Hamptons, come to New York, whatever, and play. We've got a card game Chauncey Billups plays in. And then they bring in people with a bunch of money that they are then stealing from. Now, again, I have so much respect for Chauncey Billups, and he has earned to me so much of the benefit of the doubt, that what I would like to believe here is that he had no idea. He thought he was playing in a poker game on the level, but that they were rigged games. What the insight I can give the audience is this. One of the reasons folks take the time and effort to travel all the way to Las Vegas to play in card games. The reason unless I'm going to one of my two buddies' places that I've known for a long time and trust, go all the way to Philadelphia, is you're always worried that it's not on the level. You're worried that someone's dealing from the bottom of the deck. You're worried that guys are colluding. You're worried that you might get cheated. That is always a concern. I had a buddy, I don't want to give too many details here, but one of the greatest, in my opinion, card players in the world, who is a man of intense honor, got cheated out of, in one game, got cheated out of $750,000 and was able to retroactively prove that they were doing stuff like this, that it was you had card readers. You guys were cheating. The whole poker game existed to cheat me out of my $750,000, and refused to pay it, and then it became a real, like, dangerous situation. Like, so there is a level of protect yourself at all times. This stuff could be happening in the high stakes poker world. It is utterly jarring to me that the feds are alleging that Chauncey knew these games were rigged and was playing in them anyway. Because that, to me, if that's true, that's stone cold theft. There is no wiggle room around it. If you are inviting people to come play in a card game that they can't win because other people in the game are going to know what cards they have and play accordingly, that's real dirty, man. And now again, I don't want to believe it. And in fairness, during this press conference, one of the people talking, one of the feds, did say this involves the NBA team, the Toronto Rangers. So they might not be totally buttoned up. But these are shocking allegations.
Chauncey.
Yeah. And
Right.
Listen, Chauncey is considered one of the best guys one of the best people associated with the league. And again, if it were he was just playing in a card game where they took a rake, I was prepared to get on here and say this is an absolute nothing burger. Like there is not only is that barely illegal, it is there is no ethical, for me, issue with it. Like it's simply saying I'm playing in a
the games are agreeing to the rake.
Everybody, right? We're all saying we'll pay this percentage. Now, where that can, and really, the only reason the government typically cares about those things is because nobody's paying taxes on it. Because nobody's like, hey, right, exactly. And so, but you are allowed to play high stakes private poker games. As long as, like, Helmuth talks about it all the time. Helmuth plays for tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I bet.
At his own house in the Bay Area with a bunch of the Silicon Valley guys, but you just have to report your wins as gambling winnings on your taxes and pay taxes. And Helmuth doesn't take a doesn't take a rake. I watched the press conference, DeMonte. They have a picture of what they say is a rigged shuffler. They have a picture of a computer that is reading out the cards everyone has.
They raided the place and found all like the paraphernalia.
Sure seems like it, man.
Yeah.
And, oh, boy. I really thought we were going to start today talking NBA. I didn't think it was going to be that. Let me just see one more thing. So, I don't know if I finished my sentence before we get to Wemby. Maybe I did, so maybe I'm repeating myself. I don't know. But this is why some people prefer to do all of their poker playing in a casino. Because a casino is taking a rake. It's much smaller usually than the private game rake, but it's on the level. Like the cheating that can happen in a casino is two of guys at the table communicating to each other. That's called colluding. Like, hey, you raise, I'll re-raise, and then this guy will fold. Like that's one level of cheating. But you don't have to typically at a casino worry, wait, is this a setup via shuffler? And a setup via shuffler would be, to give people an example, you have $100,000 in front of you. I've got $100,000 in front of me. They intentionally give you pocket aces and give me pocket queens. I go all in pre-flop. You have the best hand. You have no choice but to call, and then a queen comes. And it's like, oh, man, 80-20, unlucky. Like, setting hands up like that is stealing. All right, crazy. I am super interested in this story. I don't know if the audience is. Let me say one other thing because everyone else is going to be more focused on the Rozier piece of it. And I say this understanding that a huge portion of our economy in my business is paid for by the gambling operators, right? We are proud partners with Hard Rock Bet. And with that, but despite that, I don't even think it's despite that. Regardless of who our sponsors are, I owe the audience full transparency and honesty. And here's what I am going to say about the Rozier thing. As long as player props are a big part of legal sports gambling, this stuff is going to pop up. It just is. And here is the two sides of the legal sports gambling coin, okay? The pro-legal sports gambling coin is, because gambling's legal and regulated, and there is a real catalog of bets and archive and data, you can more easily find, prove, and root out the guys doing, essentially insider trading. Okay? That if it was just all off, bookies and in the shadows, it's harder to find or prove who's doing this stuff. That's the pro side. If I'm being fair, the con side to it is this. Absent legal sports gambling, when it was all through bookies, such a thing as how many assists is Terry Rozier going to get tonight was not a bet that existed. You couldn't call up the guy you have drinks with at the bar and be like, I know I usually just bet the Packers every weekend, but I got a real good feeling Terry Rozier's going to get more than 4.5 rebounds. Will you give me 10 grand on it? So yes, it is. We can see it better, but it also created markets that otherwise didn't exist.